Thank you everybody for coming to the 15th anniversary of the Emcon. This is Mark Torres. I am host of the panel we're going to be enjoying today. First off, I just want to make sure everybody has a raffle ticket. We're going to be giving away prizes at the end of the panel to make sure everybody has one. We're going to be giving away tickets to my comic book Devaney, which is what you're going to be watching in just a few minutes. We also have some free tickets to the Long Island Skating Park game show. So make sure you guys have that. And then we also have a sci-fi prize package of science fiction books by Frank Barbera. So that'll be first, second, and third prizes. The play is brought to you in part by Mr. Lee Kolinsky, who is adapting my comic book as a regular play. This is Frank Barbera. Trailers, and then we will take away these shows. Let's start with
could choose to change it. If we are righteous enough, we will be brought back into the fold.
I need to find Doran. Your son and I have a bond. No one seems to be able to break. He escaped from the facility and is delaying our entire operation. He has to return back to the AI program before the damage to our design is irreversible.
You mean your design, aren't you?
Last one I want.
It's not a wolf. I don't know what that is. Is that a dog? Look, I don't know. It's a cub. It's not like that. Dude, we could get into big trouble shooting a cub. You're gonna have to help me get the water. No way. I didn't even want to bring it back here. Go get the medical. Look, we should just leave it outside to die. Who cares about the fine? Why is it always about money with you? Is that what got me out here in the first place? I didn't bring you out here. Stuart Park came here to sign up some papers. That's it. Stuart, what the hell's he talking about? Smells like a rotten dog. Can you get the wood? We should just bring it back out in the woods. Close running. Thank you. Get me a flashlight. I can't see shit. Jesus Christ.
Damn, you let the movie do it. This thing is gonna last.
Okay, just tell me what to do.
Just dig in there, you.
Then pull it out. That's it. That should help.
I sell medical supplies, I don't use them.
Signature at Lloyd's office. Because your brother wanted us to come up here and kiss and make up. So? I'm going to shoot this thing and throw it back out into the woods. You need to walk away. You walked away. You walked away from us. You walked away from the business. To raise a family in a suburb. Get you going to kill a baby. You know what it is. You know what it is. Hold this thing down. We're going to keep this part right here.
came from the post writer of the story. The story is written 30 years ago. I wrote the story in front of mine from high school. His younger brother wrote the story, the story. The artwork going to be seen on the screen is about 20 years old. I finally got it published 3 years ago when we first performed it right here as a radio play. That's my book. You can check out the QR code to purchase your book, or you can buy books right up front when you walk into the door. The book has been adapted into a radio play by Filmmaker Lee Kolinsky, whose trailers we just saw. He will also be playing the part of Alien King Brigham in the Alien Brunel. We have Miss Man Jenny Feldy, who's the co-host on my show. She's going to be playing the main lead of Natasha. We have Miss Gerry Glennon as the alien's futon and robot. We have Mr. Patrick Devaney as Chris, the alien king's escort. We have Julie Kolinsky as the reporter and Dr. Raymond. We have a very much older Riley Kolinsky as a Dr. Recipient. And finally, a new addition to the group, we have Peyton Kolinsky as Ed. And as I mentioned before, we have a musical accompaniment by Musician Frank Barbera. Let us begin. This one, designated Getting Started. Establishment time. We visit the planet Alpha 7 in the Jura system. 2 moons orbit around the planet along with the green sun. From space, it seems like a serene body of life, but a raging battle between the peaceful Forlorns and the warlike Geronians have torn it apart. On the planet, we see an old alien castle. From the looks of it, the surrounding area has just seen a great battle. Lots of destroyed ships, tanks, and smoldering ash cover the area. The castle itself is worn, but has no battle damage. Inside the throne room, King Tessin is standing over the throne room's balcony, surveying the damage. Although he may not look his age, the king is over 400 years old. The grand entrance door to the room opens as Futop, the king advisor, rushes in.
Your Majesty, I have just received information that the Geronians are planning another attack.
Calm yourself, Utah. We will repel this attack just as we have done with all the others.
But the report says this attack will have full force of the entire army.
Can we withstand such an attack?
There's more. King Brigham himself will be leading this attack.
That's insane. Why would he?
Sire,
The king walks past Futop towards the grand doors.
Summon the designated. Have them meet me in the power chamber.
The king leaves Futop standing in the throne room by himself.
I fear the worst.
A few minutes later, inside the power chamber, which has 3 floors, a different color light on each floor, a transport chamber, and a power core. 4 lone scientists, the king, and well-armed elite soldiers gather around the lighted chamber with 3 tubes in it. 5 soldiers stand at attention behind the king and the head scientist. Futop is there too.
as you requested, sire, we prepare to remove the star fragment from the power core. But I implore you to
remove it.
But sire, removing our newest and best power source at a time like this is...
Silence! These fragments are not just a new power source. They are, in fact, much more.
Yes, but we have only just begun our research. Taking away such a find is...
Remove the fragments!
The head scientist presses some buttons on a nearby panel.
Access granted.
Then the tube starts to descend into the ground. There's some smoke surrounding the center tube, and when it clears, we see a metal staff that holds 5 star fragments in place. They're about the size of diamonds you see on an expensive engagement ring. The king, who is visibly upset, turns towards the head scientist.
Where is the 6th piece?
Moving into the 4-1 line, full of British Colonians standing over the dead foreign scientists. Oops, sorry. The king transported them behind them and near him.
You, my designated, are entrusted with the safekeeping of these star fragments. I fear that King Brigham has learned about our recent discovery and will stop at nothing to acquire it.
The leader of the designated steps forward.
Sire, we get the failure, but even we can withstand the full force of the Turonian army.
Your mission will take you far away from the line of battle. I want you to take these fragments and hide them so even I won't know their location.
Just then, the doors of the top floor of the chamber blast open. The Deronians enter the chamber and King Brigham leads them. In his hand is a sixth fragment glowing brightly.
Destroy the generators, kill them all, and bring me those fragments.
On the main floor, everybody is running everywhere.
They must have found a way to penetrate our shields.
The designated takes the fragments right from another staff.
You have your orders. Protect the fragments at all costs.
To the hallway!
King Brigham starts making his way to the floor. The designated starts to leave the chamber, so the Deronians are destroying the computers.
Their defenses have fallen. Let the slaughter begin.
The portals are opening up all over the entire chamber, letting in more Deronians. At the same time, the reinforcements for King Tessin arrive. There's lots of fighting and killing. The designator are leading to an unoccupied corridor. Brigham sees them leave the chamber. Much later, inside a bedroom apartment, Natasha, blonde, mid-20s, physically fit, is in the middle of getting dressed for work. She's in a rush because she's late. The clock reads 3:47 p.m. Her open purse is laying on the bed where a name tag rests on top of it. Natasha pulls up her pants with one hand and pulls down her turtleneck skirt with the other. She is a hot mess.
Damn it! Can't believe I'm late again!
Now dressed, she grabs her name tag, which reads Natasha, from her bed as well as her bag, which she grabs from the bottom. All the stuff falls out of her bag.
Can't get a break. Something always slows me down. A curse, I just know it. I get to work on time for once in my life.
Moving down toward the city street a few minutes later. There's lots of cars and people going about their business. The only building you can clearly see is the hospital, the Ed Gillies Center of Health, which takes up the whole block. Natasha is in her convertible, rushing to make the green light. She's wearing her sunglasses. There are 3 lanes on each side of the street. Natasha is in the middle lane. A crowded bus on the same road is in the far right lane, close to the intersection. Going up the cross street is a one-way road of people and cars that make 2 lanes. A red minivan is approaching the intersection coming towards the news crew. A reporter is standing right in front of the hospital, but the camera guy is shooting her at an angle so that you can see just a bit of the intersection. They are doing a live shoot.
In a few hours, Dr. Precipicus, the newest neurosurgeon to emerge in this field, will perform a new technique to remove the brain tumor in Christie's. A 12-year-old boy who may not see his 13th birthday if the tumor is not removed.
Inside the minivan, we see Ed and Adam with their parents. Ed and Adam are in the back. Ed is looking out the window, which is closed. They are all dressed as if they're going to a semi-formal affair.
Hang on, kids, we're almost there. The gallery is just around the next corner. I can't wait for us to get a close-up view of that red diamond. Everyone who has seen it up close said it almost pulses like a heart.
Look!
Just then, the sky turns black. Everyone in the area is looking up towards the sky, except Natasha, who only sees the light turn yellow and guns it to make the light. In the middle of the intersection, the portal opens up. You can almost see the light from the portal in the now blackened skies. Natasha veers to the right to avoid the portal, nearly hitting the bus. She then veers to the left to avoid the bus and goes on to oncoming traffic. The bus nearly hitting Natasha avoids all the cars and is waiting at the red light, but plows into people walking by the fountain and people waiting for the bus. The people in the minivan see Natasha a little too late as they hit her head on. Quite some time later, Natasha lays in the hospital bed. She is moving her head violently.
No! Look out!
Natasha wakes up to see Dr. Pacificus standing above her.
Relax. We thought we had lost you, but you're fine now.
Natasha in her hospital gown and black bandages has tears sticking inside her body. Her leg and arms are broken. Her head is all bandaged up. You can still see her face.
What happened? Where am I?
You were involved in a massive collision outside the hospital. I'm Dr. Pacificus. I've been taking care of you.
You need an accident? All I remember is this light. I tried to avoid it, but...
Don't worry about that right now. Just be grateful you survived. There are a lot of people involved in
How many died?
Just consider yourself one of the chosen few.
Leaving with that, Dr. Pacificus exits the room. Natasha sees Ed, the little boy from the minivan. He waves and then walks away. Natasha thinks she's dreaming and goes back to bed. Sometime later at night, Natasha is fully healed and finally dressed. She has walked down a dimly lit, deserted hospital corridor.
Hello? Where is everybody?
She tries all the doors, all locked. We hear the voice of Ed.
This way. Over here.
Hello? Who said that?
The door opens.
In here.
Natasha enters to see Ed and an unfamiliar Chris standing and waiting for Natasha to enter.
You! Oh, I'm so sorry I killed you. Please stop wanting me.
You're silly. I'm not wanting you. I just wanted to see you. And here you are.
Huh?
Chris walks up to Natasha.
Look, I really can't stand myself, so don't ask me to. When you wake up, come to the cancer ward, room 530.
Wake up?
Yeah, wait.
Natasha wakes up to find that she is still in her hospital gown and is lying on a couch in Dr. Rainey's office. She only has a small scar right below her hairline. The doctor is sitting on a stool next to her.
What did you learn?
Nothing, I have to admit. Once you went under hypnosis, you didn't respond to any of my questions. It's possible that you're having stress-related issues surrounding the accident. Since you didn't have any problem sleeping, I think you'll be fine. I'll draw the release papers in the morning.
Does the hospital have a cancer ward?
Yes, it's on the fifth floor. Why do you ask?
No reason, just curious.
Shifting gears, we go to a Coronian battle cruiser ordering the Earth. A smaller ship is docking with it. Inside the cruiser, we have 5 Coronians. Each one is at a post on a ship's bridge. Runa, the second in command, in charge of the bridge.
Profile and return. Raise shields and re-engage cloaking device.
Rohan enters the bridge. Runa greets him.
Report.
After 3 cycles, I have confirmed the location of the star fragment.
We've had these confirmations before. I don't want to contact King Breaking with another false report.
Rohan puts his arm around Runa and shows him the 6th fragment, which is glowing, but not as brightly as it was in the power chamber.
Trust me, Captain. This gem has never glowed brighter. But if you are afraid, I will retrieve the other fragments myself.
How quickly you forget King Breaking wants that pleasure all to himself and would surely kill you right where you stand for even speaking such treason.
Why does our mighty king have to come way out here? Perhaps the rumors are true.
If the rumors were true and these fragments were so powerful,
Runa grabs Rohan's hand with the gem.
then where is your power?
Back at the hospital, Natasha, dressed, sneaks into the hospital elevator. It's just as if it was in her dream, and no one is around. There's a clock on the wall. It reads 2:55 a.m.
I'm not really sure why I decided to sneak up to the 5th floor in the middle of the night.
Natasha enters the elevator. The doors close as the night shift nurse returns to a desk with a cup of coffee. Natasha presses the buttons on the 5th floor. The door opens, and Natasha is surprised to see Chris.
Jeez, you scared me half to death.
Yeah, sorry about that, Natasha.
Natasha exits the elevator and walks with Chris down the hall.
How
name is Chris Hughes. I had a cancerous tumor in my brain. I was brought here for experimental procedure. The day of my operation, 3 months ago, there was a huge accident outside the hospital. The survivors were brought here, but my know Dr. Reciprocus worked on your head to save your life. After the incident, I started to see this little Chinese boy running through our room. First in my dreams, then in this room. He told me that he wanted us to meet.
Oh my God, you see him too? At first I thought I was crazy seeing him all over the place, but no one else did. But then, the other day during physical therapy, he actually spoke to me. That's when I knew he was a ghost. But then I had this crazy dream where you told me to come here.
I had the same dream. Well, it felt like a dream.
Okay, we met. Now what?
I'm not sure. He told me that you would know what to do.
Natasha gets up and throws her hands up in the air.
Great, that's just great. So you're telling me that some ghosts wanted us to meet for some reason?
I don't think he's a ghost.
Then, what is he?
Just then there's an explosion across the street. A body comes crashing through the window and lands on the bed where Natasha was just sitting, crushing the bed. Natasha and Chris are thrown to the floor. They look up at the now destroyed bed. The body turns out to be burnt to a crisp geranium.
What the hell is that?
It looks like a body. It's a good thing you know what you did.
Yeah, lucky me.
Not too much later, Natasha enters the floor of her apartment for the first time in months, carrying her mail. She sees a notice on her door. It reads, "Dear Mrs. Ash, we have been trying to contact you regarding the past due rent. Please contact us as soon as possible. Management." Natasha opens her door and walks into her apartment. Inside the apartment, Natasha turns on the TV. The same reporter from the incident is on.
Live from the across the gallery where a violent explosion last night took the life of a security guard. Police have yet to find the mysterious red diamond, which has been on display for 3 months. Foul play is not being ruled out. An interesting side note, this reporter was nearly killed not too far away from the explosion, where one of the city's deadliest multi-car crashes in recent history happened. Many locals are starting to call the area cursed. Join me for a special report on this tonight at 6. Back to you, Jim.
Natasha goes to her mail, but is interrupted by a bright light coming from her bedroom. She slowly approaches the half-open door.
If there's a ghost in there, please don't kill me.
She pops her head into the bedroom.
Wow, it's not a ghost.
Natasha sees King Brigand with a six-stripe in his hand, going brighter than ever before, pointing right at Natasha. He is smiling.
Lucky me.
And that concludes issue 1. Once again, this is where you're going to pre-orders right now. You can go on. It doesn't work. This one. Oh, there. That's the QR code if you're interested in looking at the book or if you're issues at my desk. Want to thank everybody, starting with Man Jenny Feldy as Natasha. Gerry Glennon as Alien Steve Hop and Wilcon. Patrick Devaney as Chris from the Alien Team Program and Fire. Riley Kolinsky as Pacific. Julie Kolinsky as Wilcon and Barbera. Mr. Lee Kolinsky plays Devaney, the action screenplay, and as the Alien King Brigand in the Alien Room. Special shout out to Peyton Kolinsky as Ed. And of course, Mr. Frank Barbera. We have any questions for the audience or the panel, or we're going to go right to the raffle? We got a question. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, for the actors.
For the actors.
Any one of you, how do you draw onto the characters when you read his comments, and what are your thoughts and feelings, or any specific ideas you get, and why? Any one of you.
when you saw the character? What did you bring from yourself to bring the voice and the character to the stage?
And with your thoughts and
And
feelings.
the thoughts and feelings towards it. You want to just go down the road?
Maybe like do like go cross, like.
Yeah, well, since I also adapted it, I kind of really just felt like I wasn't sure I was going to play a character originally, so I thought it was just going to be like everybody else, and I just watch anything else. I was trying to really get into like the head of Mark for the most part, and trying as I was reading the script and the comic book actually. And for me, it just I felt. To me, I always wanted to be a king, so it was nice to do that. And also being an alien, but that's kind of how I felt about doing it. I just didn't really think about anything other than that, just like, I want to be an alien king. That's how I wish.
I also wish to be an alien king. Thank you very much. Doing reads like this, you get to do things that you're never going to be cast for. I'm never going to play the part of a 12-year-old kid. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to get into that mindset and try to be that person in a read. But I read the comic and I saw the script they were doing from it, and I'm like, okay, I could be one of these people. That's wonderful. And I found out I was going to be 3 of them. And I'm like, oh, that's even better. You know? So it's like an alien ruler, you know, a nerdy dad taking his family to a museum, and like this ghost of this dead kid. I mean, it's a pretty good range for one script. So that's what drew me to it.
Yeah, for me to like for a radio play as opposed to a regular play where you have to act it out, it's really interesting to be able to just use your voice and to bring a character to life through your voice, and I love that challenge. And the two characters were completely different, so to change my voice and was very interesting for me, and I had a lot of fun playing it.
I did the voice that Mark told me to do, and Natasha speeds it, she guns it through a yellow light, so I know at times in my younger years, teens and 20s and 40, and some clients I've had when I did counseling, you're very ungrounded and spacey, and you're trying to rush somewhere. I kind of made her, you know, the person that's going to go through a yellow light and maybe kill a bunch of people and cause an accident and have stuff dropping out of her bag, and you know, I've been that person at times. Sometimes I'm in terms of that person, you know, on different days. So she's her feet are not planted in the floor, so that influences the voice, because her voice emits feelings, and the vibe of her is scattered.
I don't know. I sort of just.
I think those last 3 years did a favor for me. Yeah, I'll do it, sure. Riley was actually Peyton's role when he was, you know, like 3 years ago. I mean, just like all of a sudden had a different voice a couple of years later. So we kind of felt like that was going to work out, right?
Yeah. And that is the beauty of a radio play, because you're really relying on your voice. So like Riley was a completely different character 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years.
And his voice was completely different. So to hear him today, it was such a thrill, right? It was awesome to hear you as the doctor, and to hear his voice, it was like such a thrill.
Well, actually, where did you get that country voice from?
Well, I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash.
I've heard.
Any other questions from the audience?
That's it, a little girl. What's she gonna say?
Yeah, well,
So I am actually very creative. Most people don't know this about me. I started writing something called Sensory Street. It's a knockoff of Sesame Street. And it takes place on Long Island, and it stars a lot of characters from different parts of England, like Manchester. Like there's this girl called Simone that has a very, like a very high-pitched voice that sounds like a cinnamon shake. And you just like talk, and it goes about the things that happen during, you know, real life, and other things that can go about. And I actually learned to play piano by ear, so that was interesting for me as well. But how do you know what kind of voice has to go with which thing?
Like which character?
How do I know which voice is which character? Actually, somebody asked me that the other day. When I wrote the story, I had in mind of what the character would sound like, and sometimes some of the actors hit right on the button, gave you something better, or something was like, it didn't quite sound like what I thought it would sound like. So with Jen, she gave me like 4 different types of pitches of her voice, and I was like, I think this one was the best one out of all of them. That's how she came on that. I did not expect the cowboy accent today, but that was amazing. So it could be, from now on, that might be what I hear. So that's how I see it. It's just something that I was coming to when I wrote it down in the first place. You have any other question?
Yes, I love seeing younger people writing, and if you're writing now, keep writing, and always keep writing. When you finally get some of your things produced, maybe you have already, but when you're doing more of that, also my advice to you is to trust your actors. I did a short film about 4 years ago, and on the 3rd rehearsal, my lead said, "Oh, by the way, my character is from England." And I said, "No, she's not." She goes, "Yeah, she is now." I said, "Can you do that accent through the whole film?" And she says, "Absolutely." And it added a dimension that I wasn't expecting, but she brought it, and it was perfection for that role. So you're, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I would say. Know what your story is, but trust your actors, and they'll always give you some kind of goal.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the panel? No, good. All right. Next question. Yes, sir.
As a fellow creative writer, artist, I guess this question is directed towards you, Mark, but also anyone else. Going from comic book and script and comic book pitch, and then adapting it to the page, and then adapting it to a screenplay. What does that process look like? Because obviously you're going to be,
The process for when I wrote the story.
the writing is going to be different for.
It is a little bit. I cannot say how the adaptation was. That's all me. But when I wrote the comic book, I had a pretty much idea of how to write comic books. So I just kind of wrote it in that way. And I went back and forth with the artist. Every page that came back, I was like, oh, we gotta change this a little bit, or maybe not put this in, or tweak that a little bit. But I wrote the whole story straight, 110 pages, 100 years ago. It's actually 33 years ago. And the artist, he took the artwork back then, and he took all the story, and he drew it all in order. A lot of times artists don't draw in order, but he drew it all in order. So once he started getting the hang of it, my notes got smaller and smaller, and he just went with it, and it was exactly what I had envisioned. And sometimes, just like with the voices, they put something in that I didn't expect and enhanced it, and I was like, great, leave it in there, keep it in there. So much so that when he got to the end of the 5th issue, his artwork had changed and improved so dramatically, I actually had to go back and redraw a couple of pages from the 1st issue, because it was so different. I actually have some pages out, and funny, you can see the difference between what he did when he first started and a year or two later. Do you want to talk about adapting?
Yeah, I mean, originally the comic book where I'm like, oh, this is great, you know, it's got all these visuals and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, if I was going to turn this into a short film, per se, I wouldn't have all of this narration. You have to figure out how to show it, you have to tell it a little bit of dialogue, that kind of thing. But when we decided to do the adaptations just for the radio play, it's kind of the same thing. You look at all the text that we have. How much of this verbiage is going to be able to kind of, I don't know, connect with the audience, right? So there was just like, originally he had like, Mark had like 30-something characters.
27 different speaking roles.
Right, right, which you can kind of do with a comic book, or if you have this, you know, amazing like ensemble cast that goes on forever in the book, or a film. But we knew that we had like a short period of time, we needed to, was the voice the same in some of these characters? Can I merge them into something else, or make it into one character? So we scaled back on that, and we just, I felt like we were able to kind of take dialogue and cut some of it out because we didn't need it. Again, they wrote it 30 years ago. We're trying to get it in today's space where everybody's attention span's like 6 seconds. So you're kind of like doing that, and then I'm thinking like what kind of music we want to add to it. It's all kind of in the head. We had a bunch of sound effects we had to go through to make it into a live play. So our budget was pretty low. So we kind of like went through all the free areas where we could get sound effects. And luckily it came across Frank over there with who he did the whole score. Basically, I go out in the script, and he created the score out of that based on.
So, you want to talk about how you adapted to the music?
Well, I was on Mark's radio program and answered some of these questions. But I just look at it like it's a great challenge. I've always wanted to, but I've always inspired by the great film score composers and composers in general. So this is just like a candy store for me. I really got a chance to just, try to be creative and to put all these kinds of emotions into the music. I personally, my whole life is music, so that says I speak better with music than I do with words. So it was a great challenge, and a great honor, and I appreciate being here. So thank you.
Do you have any other questions? All right, so let's get to the raffle. Does everybody have a raffle ticket? Stacy Kolinsky over there, close to her, make sure everybody gets a raffle ticket. Stacy's hanging out last minute raffle tickets. So you have yours. Okay, everybody who does not have a raffle ticket, raise their hand. Does not. All right, everybody has one. All right, so I guess we'll go third place, second place, first place.
That's it. Thank you very much. Turn them upside down.
So the third place would be a collection of science fiction novels by Frank Barbera. 376-850. We have a winner. 376-850 going once. 376-850 going twice. Excuse me, 850. 850. We got 850. Second bag of science fiction novel. Going once, 840 going twice, 840 going twice.
One more time.
376-843.
376-843. And then finally, the grand prize of 2 free tickets to the Long Island Comic Stage Show and Nassau Coliseum happening next month. Representing our sponsors, I'm now trained by the NFL. This is the right way going out. Who is the winner?
Give my glasses. 376-849.
376-849. I will get your information at the table up there. Hold on to that. Just to verify.